What is the most important for Marten as a company?
As a company, we think it's most important to do the products as good as it can and as high quality as we can, so everyone can enjoy the music through our products.
The white sign there, it says Marten Production. So up here we used to have the factory. That's where we were before. And at the end of this street you will see a yellow brick building with the Marten sign on. And that's where the current head office is and our demo rooms. So you see the white sign on the yellow building straight ahead. Factory that we are moving into. So this black house on the left side, this entire building will be the Marten and Jorma factory with offices and demo rooms and all the warehouse. So this is where we're moving into. So now we're standing in front of the new Marten and Jorma factory. Within a couple of weeks we hope also that the sign on the building will say Marten and Jorma. We started producing speakers inside of this house on the 7th of January. So it has been a very busy Christmas, New Year moving into the new facility. This building is in total around 2,000 square meters, 2 floors. So on the first floor we have the Marten Jorma production, our warehouse, and also building our new carpentry. On the upper floors there will be all the offices, and we are building 3 new demo rooms, of course meeting rooms and kitchen and a lounge for visiting guests. So please come, enjoy. From the cool pink over there. here we will have the Marten production, which we have just moved into. We started packing down on the 19th of December last year and spent the whole Christmas and New Year of moving our machinery and all of the existing warehouse from the old facility down the street to this new production area. So please follow me in here. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
So here you're stepping directly into where we build all of the different Marten speakers. On the tables today for us, we can see that there is actually 3 pairs of Mingus Ouintet 2 in production that is going out to a European distributor later this month. And of course also our pride and glory, we are building the first customer pair of the Supreme Extreme, which is also going to be delivered here end of this month. So this is a huge moment for us when the first customer pair is going out. Also in this production area, down to the left, you can see that there is a pair of Parker Trio Diamond Edition that just has been finalized. So when they are finalized, we measure them and save all the measurement curves and make sure that they measure exactly the same. And of course that is saved, so if an accident would happen in the future, we know exactly how that speaker measured from the beginning. This area completely new, with new flooring, new lighting. Even when we moved in here, there were no natural light coming in from windows to help the production guys get the best properties for building the products. So the final step before we go into packing down speakers that has been assembled here in the factory, it's of course measuring all of them. Already from the start we only use drivers that are matched as pairs. So already from the beginning we know that we have very similar numbers on all of the different components that we put into the speakers, but of course we also need to make sure that they measure exactly as they should. So here we have our measuring station where all of the measurement curves for each speaker that we have ever produced is saved on the computer. So in the future, if there would be an accident in the customer's place, we know exactly how the measurement curve was for each speaker. And also this is an opportunity to let the speakers play some music, and also not only with the measurement but also with our ears go over the construction and make sure that everything is sounding as it should. And after this station, then we go into packing down the speakers. Do something here. The 3D printer is putting something together for us. I don't know what. So, you ready? Yes. So here we have one of the face plates. In this case, it's for the Mingus Ouintet 2. And what we do with this machine and in this station here in the factory, we do all of the laser etching. So it might be that for a diamond edition speaker, we put the diamond edition. Also for all of the speaker binding post plates, which contains information like serial number, that is also etched inside of this machine. Yep. So now we have moved over from the manufacturing place to our main storage unit of crossover components. And since we do all of our crossovers already from the Oscar series all the way up to the big Supreme Extreme series in-house, here we are also preparing for another station where we can have crossover filters built. Since we have one of our employees with a big workshop doing the crossovers in his own workshop, it's also important for us with the now growing company that we are able to produce more crossover filters in a higher speed. So that's the reason why we are preparing one more station internally here. The different components that we keep in stock is of course to be able to build any kind of crossover filters for the different models that we use. Anything from really heavy copper foil capacitors. Also here on the shelves you can see we have some pre-made crossover filters. It is important for us to have pre-made filters that is in the perfect specification, so we also always have something to follow back on and make sure that when we build something new that we follow the first principle. So I can take out something from the shelf here. We can see here is a reference for the Mingus Ouintet speaker. And what we don't want to show close is all of the different values, of course, but if someone would like to try and make a copy, please go ahead. I just don't want to show all the notes. Yeah. It's not so interesting. With the introduction of our Supreme models, we also made the decision to upgrade our crossover filters to even a next level. And doing that, we worked together with one of our trusted partners down in Denmark, which is Dulund. So we have incorporated a lot of the different Dulund components into the Supreme models crossover filters. And it's a pure joy, of course, to be able to work with this kind of quality products. Very, very expensive, but it's on a very, very high level. So it brings the speakers to the next quality level as well. Another one of our very trusted manufacturers that we work with is the German manufacturer Mingus, which is also known for very high quality components. We also have these Audin caps, which is also very, very high quality components. So with the crossovers we have here, we are preparing the Coltrane Supreme Extreme, one of the first customer pairs to be built, and this is going to be implemented. This is a full 5-way speaker, so there is a lot of crossover separate crossover compartments that goes into the speaker. Here we have implemented all of the Dulund components as well, all of the Jorma cabling. So this is just part of what goes into the Supreme Extreme speakers. On the shelf over here we have 2 other filters that is going to be mounted inside of these speakers. That has just been delivered to us from our employee who builds the crossover filters. Just the production process of building these filters together is around 2 weeks for one speaker. So a lot of work goes into this, finding the best possible way of putting the components together, because also of the limited space inside of the speakers. And of course it needs to be very, very sturdy due to when speakers are shipped. So we secure everything with extra security, but everything is hardwired from the beginning. We don't want to use any kind of circuit boards for the crossover filters. We believe this is a much better way of doing it. So the next part of the factory is actually our sister company, which is also a huge part of Marten, and that is Jorma. Jorma has been owned by the Marten company since 2016, and we have for a very long time been using Jorma cabling inside of our speakers. And here you can see one of the big spools of high quality cable that is manufactured in Sweden, that is pre-cut and going into internal cabling for our speakers. Also here we try to keep as much stock, of course, as possible of different raw material and the famous wood blocks that we use in our different cables. It's a signature that is very well known for Jorma. So here we have parts of the Paragon power cable with this beautiful gold logo inserted to the wood block. So this is something that really shows the quality level of the cable. It has nothing to do with the sound, but this is a mark of being a Jorma cable. On the other side of this facility, we can walk into our dear friends from Jorma and see what they are doing currently today. So we're just gonna go in here and say hello and shoot with video. So here we have Puk, we have Band, and we have Daniela, part of the Jorma team. This is the new production facility where we manufacture by hand all the different Jorma cables. As you know, we have of course some standard length, but also important for Jorma is that every cable can be ordered in a specific custom length. Next to us in the other room right here, this is part of our burn-in station. So here we burn in all of the interconnects and speaker cables, and this is also where we have a pre-built stock of our cables in standard length. Of course we try to have as many different alternatives ready to be able to ship directly to customers. But being more of an artisan maker, it's more important for us to be flexible and be able to deliver exactly what the customer specifies in good timing. And I don't want you to shoot that one. The burn-in process of all of the interconnects and speaker cable is full 7 days and nights. So we put a date on when we start burning them in and a date when they should be ready. So it is a manufacturing process that we believe gives the customer a cable that is burned in and is sounding as good as possible, and will diminish the time, of course. It will change over time when put into the customer system, but with this process we have made sure that it's burned in properly in the best possible way.
Ja, precis. Men att lösa det.
So we have now entered the warehouse part of our new factory. And as you might understand, one of the challenges for a speaker manufacturer is keeping stock of different cabinets. Due to that, we want to be able to deliver multiple different finish options for our customers. So here we have plenty of supply of the Oscar and Parker series in every single finish that we now have in our catalog. From here, cabinets are taken down and put into our in our assembly area, where we do the polishing on all of the high gloss cabinets, and of course also then mount all of the drivers crossover filters. In the factory we of course need to have some limited stock of the more expensive models, the more exclusive models like the Mingus and Coltrane series as well. But this is a challenge, and for us we always try to improve on our delivery times, which means that we need to have as much different components available for the customers at all time. I will just go down. Inside of our factory, we have also built this purposely room that is in the end of the factory due to the very high volume that is going on in there. And this is our torture chamber for all the drivers that we're using. So it is important for us that we keep the highest quality level of every single driver that we have mounted inside of the speaker. For that reason, we put our drivers into a burn-in process of 100 hours at extreme just to try them at an extreme level and make sure that nothing breaks in that way. And it also helps with the burn-in time of the speakers, of course. So in here you can already now hear, if I open the door, it will be a very, very high noise. So you don't want to stay in there for too long. So one of our long-term goals has always been to build our own carpentry. It is a significant thing for Marten to use real wood in our constructions for like the Mingus and Coltrane series. And it has always been one of our bottlenecks as well, because it's a process that takes extreme amount of time, a lot of knowledge, and also some quite heavy machineries. With our new factory, we now have the opportunity to build our own carpentry. The entrance to the carpentry you see here, and actually the first machine that we're going to show you was so big that they had to install the machine first and then build the walls around it. The machine that is standing in here is a CNC machine that can take up parts to 3 meters of length, which means that we can do all of the panels. Our tallest speaker today is the Supreme Extreme, which is around 180 centimeters. So we can, with plenty of space over, work with these different parts. Now the sound goes on in here. We are testing the machinery. This is a work in progress. We hope to be fully up running with production in this carpentry within a couple of weeks. I can show you here on the right side that we have already received our deliveries of real wood. So here is a full palette of beautiful walnut that is one of the popular finishes of our speakers, both for tops, bottoms and front panels. When we get the wood, it needs to rest and come to the right humidity, which is a process that takes anything from 6 to 8 weeks. So from this point, we then cut down to the right size length. They are glued together, and in the CNC machine, we then cut out the specific form for each model. In this case, we are talking about Mingus Quintet 2, Mingus Septet, Mingus Orchestra, Coltrane Quintet, Coltrane Momento 2, Coltrane Supreme, and Coltrane Supreme Extreme. So we have quite many different models that we need this kind of machinery to work with. When we enter the next part of the carpentry, we had to separate these two parts because the CNC machine is of course a very noisy machine. Here we have more stations, and deliberately we have decided to make the room as big as possible for the amount of machinery that we have, because many of the parts that we're working with, it's quite significant to size. So it makes it so much easier for all the employees when they're moving the different parts around and not damaging any parts. So anything from here is all the machinery that we need to totally in-house complete the production of every wood part that we use in our own speakers. We also see some more different options for finishes that we offer. To the right we have oak, which is starting more and more to be a popular choice for customers who want something that is a little bit brighter in color. And next to the oak we have a big delivery of Cebrano wood, which is something that we have been working with for many years. Quite hard to source sometimes, so it's very important for us to have a sufficient stock situation for quite a long time. So as you can see, this is work in progress, and we are very much looking forward to be fully functional, fully up and running here in the next couple of weeks. So first step of manufacturing, when we have all of the big boards, we use this big cutter to cut down to the right size of every single part that we're using. Moving from this machine, which is the first step, over to the other side of the room, which is the second step, is when you cut at the other angle to make sure that the grain of the wood looks beautiful and make sure that there is no internal flaws inside of each of the panels. Third step is to make sure that everything is 90-degree angle all the way around, and that's what we can do here. And next to this one we have the fourth step, which is making sure that we have a 100% flat surface on all of the panels. And on the last step we have the sanding machine, which is currently surrounded by boxes, which of course not going to look like that. But this is the first step of sanding, and it's the only step of sanding that we do by machine. From this step, every sanding process is done by hand. So the machines that we're using here is to get, to the level where we can bring the production over to the CNC machine and then cut down to the right form and size for each different panel of the different Mingus speakers and the different Coltrane speakers. When it has been cut to the right form and size in the CNC machine, we can then start the final part of the finishing process. The finishing process incorporates a lot of hand action with sanding to the perfect surface layers. And then we go over to our lacquer process, which is a very time-consuming process. It is important for us to make all of the pores inside the wood 100% sealed, which means that it normally takes around 15 layers of lacquer, which the 14 first layers is actually a high gloss lacquer to create depth, and then the final layer is a matte lacquer that goes on top to create a smooth matte surface of the wood. And then from this other part we don't need to do that much because it's hard for us to show. I can just tell that this is the last part of the carpentry where we will build the lacquer box. So now we're walking into what is going to be the final part of the carpentry, the final step. Currently we are forced to use it as storage because we are not really there yet, but half of the room that you see here down on this wall will be the lacquer box where we will do all of the lacquering process in-house. So hopefully within a couple of weeks everything will be installed and we will be able to start the lacquering process in-house. Mingus Quintet 2 production. The Mingus Quintet 2 is also one of those speakers that has been extremely popular on the Japanese market. It is a true high-end speaker, but with quite a small footprint, so you can easily install also in smaller rooms and still be able to get a beautiful sound stage with all of the clarity that Marten speakers are known for, and with tight linear bass performance that really connects to the room and giving the listener some really high-end music experience. In this case you can see that it's the statement version, and you see that on all of the cables that is used for the internal cabling, which is the Jorma statement line. So here we have the Mingus Ouintet 2 cabinets that are being prepared for installment. So also on the Mingus series, the finish of the cabinets are on an absolute top level when we get them here from the factory, but still we do our final polishing step of all of the different cabinets. So in this phase we are preparing cabinets for the next step, that would be to mount the wood tops. In this case it's going to be a beautiful light oak, and that is mounted on the top and the bottom of this speaker. When that has been done, the next step would be to go over and mounting the different first order crossover filters, and that we can see on the other table going over here where we have another pair in production. So with the Mingus Ouintet 2, it's a speaker that is a three-way speaker, so you have three separate 7-inch bass drivers, there is a 5-inch mid-range driver, and there is a 3/4 inch diamond dome. All of these different parts of the speaker has their separate first order crossover filter that is mounted inside of the cabinet like this. All of the crossovers are built in-house. Everything is hardwired with only the absolute best possible components that we can get hold of. And after this step, the back plate is going on and the speaker connecting terminals. So also for the Mingus Ouintet, the normal production process for one pair, starting with the polishing process, you have the crossovers ready with all of the cables mounted. It is still around a full week for one person working from Monday to Friday to make the assembly of one pair. The 50-50 mixture.
Yeah. Directly from the bar.
Directly from the bar. Don't drink it.
Ja, han ska ju göra sig till för kameran här.
I don't know what this is called in English, so it's hard for me to explain, but we need very high quality to make sure that when we mount the driver units in the speakers, that we can get to a high torque setting without damaging any of the internal parts.
Ja, det hoppas jag att det gör.
Jag testar lite grann så tycker jag.
Det är mer att det är mer...
Ja, det kändes som att de var lite stora.
The reason why he's wearing gloves when handling those is that even if you have like dry fingers, you can easily scratch the surface. Completely fresh. This is additional damping mat that are mounted inside of the cabinet to eliminate resonances.
Och så får du också lite extra lim här för att det är lite halvdåligt det som sitter på.
Ja, men det är väl det. Jaha, vad själva stationen är. Ja. Den kan ju säkert ha fått ben och stå på bara någon bänk, tänker jag nu. Men ta med. Ja. Den är lugnt i vagnen och så kan vi ställa grejerna på.
Där.
Att den vill dålig.
Ja, jajamän. Ja, men du får ju inte det på det, alltså det får inte samma problematik därför att därvid är det ju så att då har du blåsljudet långt innan det kanske är så att någonting går sönder eller aktiva element.
Men du byggde en vägg till Mexiko. Vad var det?
Stadianen där och sådana kompisar innan det blev tvärt emot. Sen blev det ju loppet med den bästa.
De här precis perfekta. Inte. De är så här lite små. Så att det blir inte att de är precis.
Då är det nog... Då behöver det vara någon form av daglås. Sen är man styr den. Nej, eller bara... Jag tror det är en Step 92 som knapp för att låsa över.
Det kan ju vara en sån här också. Var det som sista
det säkert. Ja.
Genom att det var en tillspel med mina...
Han ska printa ut det här.
Ska jag göra det?
Ja, han håller på att ta fram det.
Ja.
This is the connector that is connected to the 4 different parts of the crossover filter with the base adjustment. But it's easier to film. We can do it on the septets where you can show how it looks, because here is an adjuster, you know, for the base level. So I'm not sure if we're going to do a specific video with it here, because it doesn't look maybe very good in that way, but we can do it on the septet in the office. Yeah. So here we have a supply of different parts. That is the wood tops, bottoms for the Mingus series. And we also have some of the painted versions. So we have gold, we have black, plum, some different options that is for the Mingus series. Would you like me to take out some specific finish, maybe Sobrano if we have that? That is walnut, or no? That is septet Sobrano.
Sobrano, yes.
Yes. Let's take it out here. So as you can see, for the Sobrano finish, it is a little bit brighter than the walnut, but it also has much more deeper coloring of the wood with the darker part. So construction wise, you can see that there is joints here that is put together with glue, and after they have glued this together, you put it in the CNC machine and cut out the final final form of the bottom in this case. And everything is of course matched to different pairs, so it has similar patterns going on in the wood, and then of course this is also finalized with all of the different lacquering process. The challenge with Sobrano as a wood is that it's extremely hard. It's also hard to it's known for being a material that easily bends. It goes under the name like banana wood, because suddenly it just turns around, and that makes it impossible for us to actually use Sobrano for longer pieces like the Coltrane Quintet or the different Supreme speakers, because you need to have a shorter length of the wood in that case. So 2 different finish options here for the Mingus septet model in this case. The beautiful walnut, it's a little bit calmer, more darker in the wood, and then more lively in the Sobrano option.
Det är bra man har sett att det är lite för ofta.
Gör man?
Den utmaningen. Nej, ja.
Danmark är ordförande. Okay, so now we prepared a real Swedish smorgasbord of components that is going into our limited production of the Coltrane Quintet Extreme. We have the different parts of the first order crossover filter. The Quintet Extreme is a three-way speaker with two 10-inch bass drivers, the cell driver from a very well-known manufacturer. In this case it has the double magnet system. It's a very, very heavy driver, creating extreme bass performance. So the main filter that we see here in the middle, with components from Mundorf and Dulund, it's covering the two bass drivers, and it's covering the mid-range, which is also a very unique driver. In this case, this is actually one of the prototype drivers that we were using when developing this speaker. And this is the biggest beryllium driver in the world. It is a 7-inch driver. So this filter is covering these three parts of the speaker. Also, something that is very, very unique for the Coltrane Quintet Extreme, or all of our Extreme models, is what you can see to the left. There is a separate filter only covering the upper mid-range, and in this case this is a 3-inch diamond dome that is also used only in our constructions. The last part on the table, it's the smaller crossover filter that is only taking care of, in this case, the 1-inch diamond dome that is going into these speakers. So here we have the carbon fiber cabinet for the Coltrane Quintet that is in production. The missing piece for this speaker now is to mount the 3-piece front baffle, which consists of 3 different layers. So you have an CDF layer internally, which is 30 millimeters thick, and then there is an additional 6 millimeter thick aluminum plate, and then you have the selected finish from the customer. It could be either oak or walnut or any of our painted options for the front. So that is going to be mounted here. These cabinets we have made here in Sweden by a small manufacturer, and the specific parts for the Coltrane Quintet, it's a 2-layer carbon fiber cabinet with the foam material that you can see on the internal staging. So 2 thin layers, and that creates a very, very stiff and light cabinet. The cabinet only weighs around 15 kilos when they are empty, but when the speaker is ready with all of the parts from the 3 different crossover filters, which is first orders, the bass drivers, and all the bass platform, which is stainless steel, the weight of the speaker is actually 116 kilos. So we add a lot of weight to the speakers. But this is the very, very traditional form factor for a Coltrane Quintet speaker that we have had in production for many years. But it was first with the Coltrane Quintet we were able to get the natural raw carbon fiber look to it, which is then of course coated with a very, very nice layer of piano gloss finish.
Tur att det inte var att det gick ner på golvet.
So here will be the main entrance. On the upper floor there will be all of the demo rooms and all of the offices, and all of the bottom floor will be the Marten Jorma production, carpentry and warehouse. So let's go upstairs, and we start up there, and I will just show you what will come to be. We're walking into a complete building mess. This will be the future Marten Welcome Lounge with an open glass wall to the meeting room, of course. And then on the right side here we will have all of our offices, everything from CAD design to purchasing, production manager, and our CEO and Leif, our founder, is also sitting up here. So we can just go down here a little bit. Over on this side. So as you can see here, we have a very big room where we have endless possibilities of doing whatever we like. What does audio mean to you?
Actually, it's to get the main thing is the music.
Of course.
To get the music through a system and through the products. So audio is only tool to get the music and listen to music.
Yeah. So here you're talking about reproducing music.
Yeah.
Any specific thought about the reproduction? Do we have any goal? What do we want to achieve?
As close as possible as the recording is done. So it's no, we don't add anything, or we don't interpret the recording or the music event. It's just as close as possible when it was recorded, nothing else.
Okay.
I would say that I hope all our customers that already have our products enjoy them very much, and I'm very thankful that they discovered how good our products are. And I hope all the future customers and listeners will also enjoy our products that we are very proud of.
Amazing. We also would like to thank everybody who came to different shows around the world, both last year and for the coming year. It's a pleasure to meet you all there. So we're looking forward to see you around the world. Thank you.